Hey everyone, Jamie Makes here from MISC Paper, and today I'm sharing a process video where I'm updating my 2021 reading record. Hey friends, so today I'm updating my 2021 reading record. It's something I've been working on throughout the entire year, but actually have shared only I think through April. So it's this little mini that I have put inside of a Citrus Twist Life crafted album. I'm using the 3x8 page protector that has two 3x4 pockets, and also the 4x8 page protectors to do kind of a wrap up of the month. What I'm planning to do today is do the wrap up for November, do the documenting for December, and then do the wrap up for December as well. And then I'm also planning to do a wrap up of the entire year using tons of tiny little photos. I'm super excited about that. So here's what I'm going to be using for the wrap up for November. I've already printed out all my tiny cute little book covers. I'm going to be using these tabs from Feed Your Craft, RIP. One of my favorite companies is now no longer in business, but I'm so happy that I have some of their products still in my stash to continue to use. So these will be the denotion for November and December, and then I'm going to put stickers on a few of the Reading with Heba books that I've read. For this project, I use another Feed Your Craft stamp set that shows the various genres of the books that I read. I've used this one very sparingly, really just for that little star. I use an Everyday Explorers Co. stamp set for the dates, or not the dates, rather the months. And then I use another Everyday Explorers Co. stamp set to write or to denote the number of book that it is. So this was the 69th book that I read. This is the 70th book that I read. Just going through a quick rundown of some of the products that I'm using in this project. Stamps, stickers, washi tape. This is really old from Studio Calico. And these are things that I have created in design for myself. So I used a digital stamp from Everyday Explorer Co. just here, and then everything else is something that I created. These are the book report and book cover pages for my monthly, or not monthly, but my for every book that I read, I put together a book report and also the book cover together, and it's where I denote again the number of the book that it is for the year, the date I finished it, my rating, and there's a color coding system that I use here, which I will show when I'm updating that part. And then I also just note if it's fiction or nonfiction. So they come 6 I designed them 6 to a sheet. So I just cut these down and slip them into the pockets. And I work on either writing out my notes about the book or adhering down the various photos, like this will go here. And then I will add the number, the day I finished it, and my rating. So I've kind of gone through all of the various products and things that I'm using, and let's get to making. So I'm setting aside the individual books to work on my reflection for the month of November. And basically what I do is just print tinier versions of the little book covers to add in a single spot on a single layout that goes into a page protector. I have kind of figured out that the optimum number of books to read in a month is 8, only because it makes for a very pretty design. You see that one of the book covers is slightly larger than the other, and that's just because of the size of that little grid that has information about the number of books I read, the number that were fiction versus nonfiction, the percentage that is a physical book, an audiobook, or an ebook, and then I also keep track of what I've read from my library versus what I've got from the actual library. Okay, and then the next part The next thing that I do is stamp the numbers on there. So 72 is the last number I stamped. Luckily this year I managed to read a number that was divisible by 6, so it made printing all of this out really simple and easy. I don't have any extras this year. Or I don't have to print, you know, like one extra, which is fine, but also kind of annoying. And sorry for jumping around there. Now we're obviously working on the individual recording of the book, so stamping the number using my Everyday Explorer Co. stamp set. Okay, and now that I'm done stamping the number, I'm going to be adding the date. I keep a spreadsheet of this, a Google sheet of my reads, so that I remember what day that I finished the book. So I'm using a date stamp to add the date, and as you can see, I like to do this in batches. So usually I do this just once a month, and it seems to work pretty well. So now that I have stamped the number and the date that it was finished, I'll add the photos over this gray area here in the middle. I kind of regret adding the gray area. I fixed this for my 2022 edition, so it won't be there, it won't be sticking out in some spots, because really I didn't want to play too much with having to edit photos. I just size these to 3 inches tall, and whatever width they are is whatever width they are. I don't worry too much. It doesn't bother me very much that it sticks out, but I figured since I was going to be doing a slight redesign for 2022, then I could fix it while I had the opportunity. And since this was an audiobook, I've kept it in the 4x4 format that they show these in on your iPhone screen. I just kept it in that same format. Okay, so all of the photos are adhered. Now I go to this stamp set from Future Craft that has all of the genres of the books. So I like just having a sense of what genres I am reading and what genres I read very little. I don't know, I just think it's interesting. I think it's fun. So let's do this. We have historical fiction, which all of these Bridgerton books are. Historical fiction. Sometimes I add multiple genres if they fit in there, but sometimes I just stick to the one. I think this Tender Land actually falls under the category of historical fiction, but I think I want to label this one contemporary fiction, because it was set in the 1930s. Yeah, I don't know why I want to call this contemporary fiction, but I do, and it's my project, so that's fine. And then there's one on here for memoir and autobiography. If I am going to choose an audiobook, for the most part, they're going to be memoir and autobiography. I just listen. I have trouble listening. Like listening is probably hearing, translating, I don't know. I don't hear, I'm not an auditory person, let's just say that. And so, it's hard for me sometimes to get into really nonfiction books, because then I start wanting to take notes and I'm trying to understand, and I prefer to read those just as a regular paperback or hardback or digital edition. But it seems like really my favorite and only type of audio that I will tolerate is memoir and autobiography. There's just something about someone, especially when the author reads the book, there's just something about someone actually telling their story, and I really love that. Oh, look, so there's a romance one that I have not used yet. Don't read a lot of romance, but I got this set of books from Once Upon a Book Club. It's like they're these special limited edition ones, and I was interested, so I purchased that way back in like March, and I didn't get around to reading any of these until December, which is fine. I mean, they were read. That's all that I care about, and they were fun to read in the month of December. I binge read them, actually. And yes, I did finish these two on the same day. This one I finished in the early hours of the morning, went to sleep, and then read that one. Okay, so I'm going to add a Reading with Heba sticker to this one, because this was one that was part of her book club, and I think this was on my list, but I probably would have not read it as soon if it hadn't been for it being Heba's pick. So these were also from Feed Your Craft, part of that book release. So these are no longer available, but I think Heba has a download on her website somewhere, probably on her Bookstagram, where you can actually download a PDF of these, print them out, and I think cut them on your own. Just putting that out there. Okay, so this is where my book recording can get a little crazy. I do this in a very specific way, but in terms of doing the rating, so it's the standard, like if I give a book 1 through 5, I'll just, use one of my pens to mark how many stars I give the book, but I color code them, and that's because they relate to my TBR list, my to be read list. I have several lists that I keep track of the books that I want to read, and the books that I've read, and the books that I own. I divide this up by BIPOC stories, either fiction or nonfiction, kind of creativity, art, design books that I want to read, books that are about feminism, just basically nonfiction books here, fiction books. I got a long list of fiction books that I would like to read. Health is a section here. Latinx stories, both fiction and nonfiction. LGBTQI plus fiction and nonfiction. Literature, and general nonfiction, and then I think young adult is the last category that I have. And so basically what I do, where these lists come from, are, all of the awesome Instagram accounts, the Bookstagram accounts, things that I see like on Facebook, books that look interesting to me. I screenshot them, and then pretty much I think twice a year I go through and update these lists. And so I'll just add them to the bottom according to the category. So for these books, it's mainly the Bridgerton books that are already on here as books that I have read, and I've already marked them on my TBR lists, and that I own them. And then I need to add one more here because I didn't know that I had the 4th book until I opened all of my Once Upon a Book Club surprises. So Quinn, Julia, okay, so I gave all of these 3 stars. I thought they were good books. I thought they were entertaining and interesting. I love this genre, or that time period rather. And then this Tenderland was fiction, but not, I mean, I guess it could kind of go under the BIPOC category because it did have some Native American stories in there, but it was mainly from the perspective of an Anglo little boy, so I don't really want to put that in the BIPOC category, so I'm just going to label this under fiction. And I thought it was a really great story to read. And then this is my only nonfiction, and I give it 3 stars because I thought it was really good as well. It wasn't great. Like, I give anything that I think is good but not great 3 stars. 4 stars I give to like great books, and then it is so rare that I give 5 stars because I'm weird that way. You really have to be, it has to be a great book, but also like the writing has to be wonderful, like the words that are used has to be wonderful. There's only been a few books this year that I've given a 5-star rating to. The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón, and then The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern was another 5-star that I gave this year. Okay, so let me figure out where I put this one. I might have put it under BIPOC, not realizing that it really didn't go there. And like sometimes I have to switch things around. Like a lot of the fiction stuff I end up putting elsewhere because I don't realize that at the time, like when I put it on the list, that it could go under like either the BIPOC category or the LGBTQ category. I don't see this one. Fruit. Kruger. Okay, so this is just going to go under fiction. So my plan is for these lists to stay at the back of this 2021 album, and I will reprint and update with anything that I've written in for the 2022 edition of my reading record. So I'm going to slip these pockets into these pockets. And all of this, the only thing that I have left to do is my little synopsis. And that usually takes me a little bit of time because I tend to write like about a paragraph for each of the books. And sometimes I have to struggle to remember because they can pile up on me. But I think I'm good through the end of November. And so all I have to do is remember all of the December books. Yeah, so I'm totally finished with November. Here was the overview for that page, and the only thing that I need to go back and do is add some puffy stars. I just haven't grabbed those out of my stash. I'll probably add some around here, maybe up here, and then I'll do December wrap up next. But here's what they look like before all of the writing gets put in here. And then I'll have to figure out something to go here in the back, but no problems. I usually will maybe just print some of the book quotes or the memes that I come across online. I love book memes, so I save those from time to time. So I'll probably just slip a few in here and call this cute, adorable little album done. So I'm working on the summer update, adding my washi tape. I use the same washi every month and roughly the same configuration every month as well because I usually read about the same number. This month there were 9 books, so I had to add a little bit up to the top there. I adhere the little book covers down, and I also stamp the date at the month, just to make sure that it's really clear as to what month it is that I was working on. I use this Everyday Explorers Co. stamp set, and I add a bit of paper behind it because I knew I wasn't going to have room to do the entire December word. And then I use the little star stamp to mark the checkbox that says books I've read this month, and I adhere the December to the back of November, and then add the adorable little labels, stickers, and I just have to add my journaling and this little project gets done. Here's what a few of the finished pages look like. I'm working on posting still images over at MISC Paper. That's MISC Paper. I have quite a few photos to edit, so look for those shortly. For info on the product I used, check out the links in the description box on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please be sure to like it and or subscribe to my channel. I appreciate you. Jamie Makes, signing off.